Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Welsh channel with Rye Guy here, just with a couple combo tutorials for my adventure sprite list that I played for the Rochester Regional. I'll go over just the basic end board, the biggest of which plays with Apple Dragon. Obviously this is dependent on you opening Apple Dragon. There's no way to achieve this by searching it. And unless you open like Foolish and the tuner for the Melfi package. But that's besides the point. Let's just say this is 4 of your 5 cards. Let's say the last card is really an extender. Let's just say it's a Book of Moon. So let's say this is your hand. You start with right, obviously, and let's just say for this argument's sake that your opponent does not they don't interrupt you at all. They don't interact at all. They just let you play. So you go right, you get the Faithful, you get the token, all the good stuff. And then you special Apple Dragon here since you control a non-effect monster. Then you trigger the Faithful to get the Draco back, and then trigger the Faithful to search out the Griffin Rider, discarding the Draco back to grave, and the Draco back effect to equip itself. So that's your board right now. And then let's say here you special Griffin Rider, and then you can either use the blue or you can use Beaver. It doesn't really matter. I guess just for this sake we'll use blue, and blue will get Jet. It's very rare in this particular combo instance, or what you're overall trying to do, that you search out one of the negates. So you're almost always going to be grabbing Jet. Then here you special the Jet. Jet is going to get you, I've been leaning towards starter, especially if you have this for their normal summon, because you're ideally just trying to make it so your opponent cannot play. And this is just pretty much follow up. So here you go synchro into Cupid Pitch. Cupid Pitch effect to make it a level 6, and then you would synchro into Excel, and then Excel effect to bring back Apple Dragon. Here you would then make Baron, and then since you synchro summon this turn and Apple Dragon's in your grave, you banish Apple Dragon and you get a level 2 token that can be used for a tuner if you would like it to. Let's say you don't use it for a tuner, you're just going to normal summon the Beaver, and then you're going to link the token and the Beaver into Sprint. And then Sprint is going to send the Angler, and then you're going to get the 2 Beavers. Now, when I do the whole combo, there's going to be people that say it's not worth it, you're doing too much, it requires opening too much. It really doesn't, because you're always going to have access to 2s in like 90% of situations. If you don't, then you pretty much bricked. But anyways, here you're going to get Gigantic. Gigantic is going to get Ibly. Ibly's always going to be your target, because again, the overall objective of this build is to make it so your opponent cannot play. These are just ways to play around interactions if your opponent does interact with you. Because in the state of the game now, not a lot of people interact with Brave outside of Droll. So let's say this is where you're at now. You're going to link these 2 for Cerberus, or you can use another link, it really doesn't matter. And then you're going to use Ibly to put itself on your opponent's board in attack. You put it in attack to maximize damage output that you can produce for the next turn. So if they can't out your board and they can't out this, not a lot of people are playing a Link 1 to out this anymore. That's one of the reasons why I had so much success with this build. So you'll just put it in attack, so you are guaranteed the most optimal damage output for your following turn. And then here you make Gigantic. And then all your dudes are now in defense. They can't crash with Ibly to get it off the board. And then you still have a Book of Moon, and then you have starter for the follow-up. Let's say for the next example that you do get interrupted. Let's say that your opponent opens Droll, right? So these all go over there. Sorry, I'm doing this by myself, trying to do it as quick as possible. And these go over here. And let's say you don't open right, okay? Let's say you open Water Enchantress. And just so to prove a point of like what you can do, because like again, this deck is nothing but level 2s essentially besides Brave. So let's say this is your hand, right? So you're gonna start off with Water Enchantress to get the right. And let's say they Droll here, okay? That's fine. So you go, you're still gonna try to make, you know, the most optimal play and make it so your opponent can't play, but you'll do right to get the token and to get the Playful Adventure, obviously. And then you special summon the Apple Dragon. And then here, just special normal, just so that you know exactly what to do with all the pieces you have available to you. And let's say here you use these to make Cupid Pitch. Cupid Pitch effect to make it a level 6. And then here you make Excel. Another point to make is, so in this combo, when you use Cupid Pitch as synchro material, you can burn your opponent for 100 life points, equal to the amount of stars of the monster you bring out when you synchro summon using it as material. So now you use Excel, and you bring back Apple Dragon, and then here you make Disbatter. So again, you're under Droll. Now you're literally just trying to make your board to be the less optimal playing experience for your opponent. You're just trying to make it so your opponent literally cannot play. So now you use Ringo Worm to get the token, and then you use Disbatter to bring back Ringo Worm. And then now you synchro, or I'm sorry, but you link summon for Sprint, send the Angler, and then Angler, get the 2 beavers. This, looking very familiar to the last time. Gigantic, Ibly, link these 2 into the other link 2, and then you make Gigantic after you put Ibly on their board. So this, your opponent Drolled you, you couldn't search anymore, but you still ended with Ibly on their board. All your dudes are in defense, so they can't Ibly crash. And that was 4 cards. Again, I use 4 cards because there's so many level 2s. The deck is almost all gas, and there's only the 9 non-engine cards. Obviously, there's going to be games where you brick. I had a couple instances where I did, and those are the games that I lost. But this is just for argument's sake. That's why I used the cards I did. But it happens more often than not. Obviously, like if you feel like you want to play more interactable cards as far as hand traps, feel free. These are just the card choices that I made, and it worked out. And again, I went first quite a bit in this tournament. I won 6 out of 8 die rolls. I only lost one of the games I lost a die roll, and that was round 5 to Gold Pride. And that was because game 3, I didn't see a level 2, but it happens. So you still ended pretty optimally. Your opponent still pretty much could not play. And then let's say for the next example that you do not open Brave, but you open Apple Dragon, right? So you're gonna still be able to do some pretty cool things. So let's say your hand is this, and let's say that you open like Griffin Rider and a extender. So let's say you open, this is your opening hand. You don't have access to the whole Brave engine. This can ideally be anything else. At the end of the day, you're just going to be using a body to make sprint. So let's say you special summon this, and then you normal summon this, special this, and then special this. Effect to add jet. That hasn't changed. This to get starter. And then from here, you do your synchro shenanigans. Cupid pitch, make it a level 6. Synchro into Excel. Excel, bring back Apple Dragon. Make Baron. If you don't want to get Baron, you can use Dissipator. All the same. Baron is just obviously better, unless you have like Water Enchantress that's banished. Right, because it's any card. Yeah. You can, I mean, if you have Water Enchantress, obviously you can use this better. It really doesn't matter, but in this instance, Baron is obviously better. Because of the tag out in the standby phase. So now you use Apple Dragon to get the token. Brave is useless now, so you use that in the token. Oh, it's over there. To get to your sprint. Sprint sends the angler, and then you get the 2 beavers. One cool instance about this, so let's say that you just go right into gigantic here, obviously, and then you go into Ibli, right? Let's say you do this. I'm sorry. Wrong order. Nope, that is correct. I'm sorry. So use these two to get to your other link play, and then it's still the same. And then you just go into gigantic from there. There is an instance where you can use starter to bounce your own sprint. So let's say your end board is, let's do the whole combo. Sorry, there's a couple things I mixed up. I haven't had to do one of these in a very long time. So let's say that you didn't open Ringo Worm, but you opened right, because that's really, so sprint becomes less prevalent on your end board when you open this, if you're going for the synchro play, because you're going to need the bodies to make sprint early. But let's say that you don't have access to Ringo Worm, but you have access to Brave, and then you have like a normal summon, and you have like blue. Blue is always going to be the best example, obviously. And then let's say that you already open like Griffin Rider, which happens fairly often. You start with this, get your token, get your Fateful Adventure. This goes to Grave, and then you special this, get the Draco back. And then normal, special, this gets you to jet, jet gets you to starter, right? So that's where you're at. This is what you have in hand. You still have one mystery card. And then let's say you do this. You overlay for gigantic early. And then gigantic gets you the Ibli. This is the instance where sprint would still be on your end board because you have an Omni to out the interaction with starter. So sprint will send angler after you trigger Ibli to go on your opponent's board. So that will go there. And then angler, and you get the 2 beavers. So let's say that's where you're at. I like doing this to get. You can either do forest, or you can do mannequin cat. I personally like doing mannequin cat because there's not a whole lot of things that is prevalent in the meta right now that doesn't actually benefit you if they do out this. So let's say you go mannequin cat, right? You set starter, and then you pass, and then your opponent, let's just say, rushes battle phase. You activate starter, and then let's say you want to try and play around, anything that your opponent has as far as like Book of Moon or whatever. That will pretty much, cancel whatever they might have out to out this. Book of Moon, Book of Eclipse, whatever. On res, you're going to trigger Sprint to detach Mannequin Cat and target itself. So this is going to bounce back. And then, boom. Your opponent still can't crash into anything. You still have a pretty solid end board. Sprint is back in the extra, and you still have a angler and one beaver in deck to be able to continue playing. So you can remake Sprint with pretty much any of these. And that's pretty much the gist of it. Obviously, like, variants of what you draw can change. Those are like the most ideal play lines that I followed. I could go through combos for going second, but without knowing what you're playing against, it's really no point. Those were like the most beneficial combos that I went through. The one playing through Droll was the one I did the most, and I was still beating people after they drolled me with this baiter and everything. And just ending on the Ibly on their board, and they didn't have a way to out the Ibly, then you pretty much just auto won that game anyways. The games I didn't get interacted with, it wasn't very many that I got drolled a lot of that day. But the rounds I didn't get drolled, my end board was so solid that I was able to outbox anything my opponent did because of the Omnis, and having non-engine like Book of Moon for the normal summons, there really wasn't much my opponents could do. I played against Cash, I played against Dark World. Dark World was weird, but it was pretty easy. I played against Vanquish Soul, I played against Rescue Ace, Gold Pride Punk. I played against a Pearly and a Sword Soul, and I played against, I want to say it was another Pearly. The only games that I lost, it was Pearly and Metadium. The only games that I lost was to Gold Pride Punk on the feature. Like I said, I didn't open a level 2, game 3, and then I opened pretty poorly against Metadium game 3, and I went to Zeusum and I had to play in the nib, and I got punished for it. But the deck performed very, very well. I hope those combos pretty much showed you exactly how I was maintaining success with the build that I chose. All the card choices I chose was to do exactly what I just did. Obviously winning the die roll helps a lot, and the only thing that was prevalent was I knew I was going to get drolled. I wasn't really scared of Ash. I wasn't really scared of Imperm, because the deck plays so many bodies that you just always have expendable material to be able to keep playing. And in my opinion, that was what Sprite's main disadvantage was you pick the choke point for Gigantic or Sprint, and if they Ash or Imperm you then you pretty much just lose because you don't have enough gas to keep going. Brave, even if you get drolled, you just always have more bodies to be able to keep playing with. And then the Apple Dragon just allows you to go even further with that. But I hope that pretty much answered any of the questions that anyone had for the build and the combo iterations on what I was doing. Sorry again if I was a little jumbled in a couple spots there. Like I said, I haven't had to do this in a long time. But thank you so much. And if you enjoyed the material, like and subscribe.